I mean, that's such a huge learning curve.
Oh, that's beyond patience. Well, I need a new air conditioning system.
Ooh. Here's the princess.
So, give you something to look forward to.
I think I saw from these notes that the limestone trail is done.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you.
They're not going to do it.
You know what?
Limestone trail is not going to be a public road.
That's what I hear.
That's what they just saw on the.
I have a stack. So when are we going to put the big humps of cement in the path? In the
I think
road?
I saw on the that they're still going to put light at our entrance. I'm not sure I care. Other than the fact we can pay for it.
Yeah. Dave, get his tire fixed?
Nope.
Can't get it off.
He's too stubborn. I told him I got a star wrench.
Tim?
But oh, no, I don't need it. I don't need it.
Where's
Tucker come. Tucker didn't have one tool. We're not sitting over there. I agreed to fix the battery.
she's with her foster child? No. Twice a week. You're supposed to be with her once a month.
I'm gonna text you.
Takes her haircuts, buys her food, buys her clothes.
Tax write-off?
The Sean's got a good. I wish she'd treat me as good.
Well, if you ever have a flat tire, let me know. I'll fix it when it's flat again the next day.
Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started in just a minute. Just as a reminder, if you could please put your cell phones to vibrate. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is May 29, 2018. It's 5:02 p.m. I can verify that we have a quorum of board of directors, either in person or by FaceTime conference. Thank you, Jerry, for taking part. I'd like an approval from the board of directors for approval of the previous minutes from April 30th, 2018. Do I have a first? Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. It's recording. Okay, first order of business, we're going to discuss the landscaping contract. I'm going to call to the podium our co-chairs, Susan Harrington and Mary Duke. They're going to make a presentation. Thank you very much.
I volunteered to do it this time, so you're stuck with me. Mary Duke is here, though. Okay. So, do we have a page turner? All right. We stole this page from our last briefing at the last board meeting. It just is a reminder that we had requested bids from 7 contractors, 4 of them no bid, and we did get bids from Buttonwood, Centron, and Green Parent. What we did, what our committee did, is we took the request for proposal and took all of the key points and compared all of the proposals from those 3 contractors to compare and contrast what their responses were. And that's an eye chart. I don't expect you to read it. What we focused on were the major differences in those proposals. One of the requests was that the proposal would be received on time with a quantity of copies and digitized versions requested. Two of those, oops, I went too far. Okay, I'm on the, oh, I lost a page here. I'll get to that page in a minute, but the major differences included trimming. Buttonwood said they would not trim anything over 6 feet, and we do have things that are pretty tall that Centron has been trimming. And if they didn't do anything over 6 feet, we'd have to get tree trimmers in every month to trim those items. So that would be an added cost that was not included in the Buttonwood proposal. Green Heron said they would do up to 15 feet, but they would not use any ladders. So we have some nice guava trees that are up that high, and they could use poles to do trimming, but it would be hard to get that nice rounded shape, and those guava trees would end up looking like Bart Simpson's hair. So, and Centron did say they would trim up to 14 feet, and they do use ladders. Pruning, Buttonwood and Centron said they would do selective pruning, hand pruning, and doing the flowering shrubs. Green Heron really didn't identify what they would do. Fertilizing, Buttonwood and Green Heron just quoted the standard practice for Florida. Centron really focused on the fact that we have alkaline soil and that we need special fertilization. And when they were given their pre-briefing on this before they produced their proposals, Adam did ask them if they wanted to see the 2015 report of the soil conditions that was done by the LAM engineering firm. And neither Buttonwood or Greenwood was interested at that time. Staffing levels, Buttonwood was on top there. They said they staff up to 24 people, plus the irrigation and pest and weed control folks. Centron said they'd have 20 people plus irrigation, pest and weed control. And Green Heron did not specify in their proposal, but they had previously told Adam they expected about 14 to 16 people. Other extras that we requested that they might include in their contract, Green Heron said they did have a design architect, but that would be provided at a minimal cost. Centron said that a design architect would be included within the contract at no extra cost. And they also had started the practice of wireless control of our irrigation systems so that they didn't have to walk around and hand start each one of them. Cost of extra services, if extra things were required, like fixing pipes or other irrigation or extra plants that are not included in the proposals, that would charge $60 per hour. Centron charged $50 per hour for planting, $45 for irrigation, $55 for lighting, and Green Heron also charged $60 per hour. So the interesting thing was that Buttonwood and Centron turned their proposals in on time. We requested 6 hard copies and digital copies so that could be sent via email. Green Heron asked for an extension, and then Adam had to call them multiple times to get their proposal in. And when they finally turned it in, they gave us 3 hard copies, and that was it. Which kind of reflected to us that they were really interested in the contract. Transition plan, it was specifically required or requested a couple of times in the request for proposal that the companies provide a plan for how they were going to transition from the current contractor, Centron, to their company. And that was really important because Buttonwood and Greenwood are smaller companies, but they had no transition actually Centron did. They said, here's what we're going to do in addition to what we've done before. And they provided specific areas that they were going to change. Again, Buttonwood and Green Heron did not provide any specific plans for naming a site manager who would be in charge and when that person would start, whereas Centron did specify, of course, that AJ and Chad, the current managers, would continue. And then looking, last thing, the cost, the lowest price was Centron at $1.38 million. So at that point, after looking at all the differences, we narrowed the scope to eliminate Green Heron because the differences showed that Green Heron was lacking in most all of the areas. In fact, they really had no positives where they exceeded the other two contractors. And their negatives included the staffing levels, cost for extra services, other extras, the design architect was not free, the trimming, pruning, and fertilizing. And overall, they did not demonstrate that they were familiar with our current issues on our irrigation systems and our fertilizing requirements. And they did have a higher cost of $120,000. Okay, the other reason, I am losing track of myself here, sorry. The other reasons were that they did have the proposal submittal problems that I had mentioned. They were late after multiple reminders and so forth. So then we took a look at Buttonwood, and they did have some pluses over the other contractors. That included the selective pruning, the staffing. They had the highest level of staffing, and they did submit their proposal on time, and so they were definitely very interested. And then we heard from other people, that live here in the quarry, that the view of Heritage Bay, where Buttonwood does perform, looks really nice. So what we did is we looked at Buttonwood's references, which each contractor was asked for 3. Buttonwood provided 3. 2 of them were for people in Heritage Bay, and 1 was a management company, a property management company. So we figured, well, okay, Buttonwood wants us to go look at Heritage Bay. We did find out that they only do the common areas of Heritage Bay, not all of the areas. But we went around and looked at those, and obviously, from these pictures and what we may have seen driving through ourselves, it does look really nice. The trimming is a little bit fuller, might be a little boxy here. The mowing and edging look really nice. But again, they had some minuses too. You can't see really well, but looking at this picture, there's some darker areas here where obviously they have weeds along with the rest of maples, I think. And they did have some dry, neglected areas. There was a whole long line here of grass area that was not watered, and here, this is harder to see too, but this was drying out and dying. So there were some concerns where Buttonwood did not come out on top. Again, they had no transition plan, no site manager or supervisors named. Cost of extra services were higher, again. Trimming, nothing over 6 feet, so there'd be a lot of hidden costs there. And then fertilizing, no recognition of our special issues here. So, and their reference, basically the one, some of the areas did look nicer than they do here. Some of the areas did not. And so overall, again, they were not familiar with our irrigation or soil challenges, and they did have the highest cost of the three. So for all of those negatives, the higher price did not work well for our decision-making process. So that kind of eliminated Buttonwood. That being said, Cintron has not been without their issues here. They have not been perfect. So we sat down with Cintron, with Jose Cintron, the owner, and the general manager, AJ Price, and Chad, our manager here at the quarry, and talked about the things that were of concern to us, and asked what their plan was. And some of these were addressed in their proposal, but they did expand on that. Supervision was one of those. We felt that things were not getting fed back well, and things fell through the cracks. They said they have an additional manager, Andrew, now, who's dedicated to weed and pest control, and which allows Chad more time to review the whole site and any work orders that are out there. They have another supervisor, Alex, who works to keep all of their equipment in order and get it to the people who are doing the job here on site. And the daily crews have a process in place now to feed back any issues they might spot as they're mowing or trimming, to feed that back to the supervisors, Chad or Andrew. They do have a new weed and pest control team, Andrew and an assistant, who works 4 days a week just going through and reviewing all of our areas that need pest control or weed remediation. And they've been specially trained and educated in this area. And then they have added, they're adding, and they've already added a couple more people to trim and prune and to remove the dead plants, hand prune flowering shrubs rather than taking the electric or power things and shaving them. And they're stepping back the trimming, which we had requested, to 5 weeks to allow more natural growth to occur. And then in looking at their proposal, they did come out on top for almost everything. They're trimming, they're pruning, fertilizing. They do have a special understanding after working here for 3 years of what soil needs what in our different areas. They did have additional services included in their price that the others did not, and their cost of any extra services are less. And they do have the management and their staffing plan in place. So they wouldn't be scrambling for the first 6 months to try and do a good job here. When we sat down with them, they did acknowledge up front that they've had past issues, especially the irrigation and soil challenges, and they did identify those corrective actions. And they did have the lowest cost. The other thing they said, or Jose Cintron, the owner, said, as we concluded our discussion with him on the concerns, was he said he wanted our community to look like Disney World, so that when he brings people to, he wants to use it as a reference to gain more business for himself. So that's a win-win for both of us. So as a result of all of that, we are recommending that we select Cintron for a 2-year landscape maintenance contract at $1.38 million. And Jerry Solomon had recommended that we add a 3-year option with a 3% increase at the Quarry Community Association's discretion, so that we can minimize our dues and creep upward. That's all I have.
I have a question. In that contract, are you guys going to put in there a provision for them to also hopefully remove trash as they go along?
Yes, yes, they did say they would, in fact, they are including that. Trash removal, if there are any miscellaneous, if there's a whole dumpster full, that's a different subject.
How much is the current contract?
The current contract is about 1.2 million,
So it's a $200,000.
about 180,000.
So that's what percent?
So you can do the math in my head. About 12% increase.
Yeah,
That's another reason.
And Syntron in the past contract, the one we're just moving out of, that was a 3-year contract. And initially, from what I understand, when they first came here, they wanted to put 20 people on site, for a job. And they had to meet a contract price, and they weren't able to, fund 20 people here. So that contract was for 14 people, and they actually added 3 additional people. So we've been operating for a few years here with 17 people paying for 14. This past July, Syntron said that if they were to get the contract again, if they lived up to that in this proposal, that they would have now the 20 people on site, but we're technically paying for 17 and still getting that 3 extra people that they're absorbing in costs. So when you compare it to the previous contract, we're actually getting 3 additional people, 40 hours a week. And that translates to a $15,000 increase in our contract price per month.
Do they break down the contract between the cost of the private homes versus the common area?
Yes, they do.
Yes.
So what's the percentage split? Is the increase across the board, or is it more in one area?
No, there are increases across all 3 contracts. Obviously, the beach club contracts are going to be minimal because that's a 1-day service. But there are increases due to the 3 additional staff members for all 3 contracts. If you're asking, will the entire community feel the burden of the 250,000 hours additional? The answer is no, because of that 250,000, it's broken down into one section.
I hope this is relevant, but what happens on storm damage? Is that an additional, obviously?
Yeah, storm damage is a different contract that we work out with them separately.
Is that hourly? Or?
It is, yes. It's hourly for the 4 different levels of chainsaw operators, regular labor, bucket truck operators, and dump truck.
Plus, is there a fee to them?
It's included in each truck.
And is that something we also shop, or is that just given to Syntron?
I've yet to see what National Insurance prices. We're given total exclusivity with them. There's even a provision that we worked into our contract that we have first right of refusal with Syntron, meaning that we will be their number 1 priority over all their other properties.
What about, I'm not experienced this, so it seems like they do a 2-step where they drag the stuff up the slope ramp and then you load trucks and drag it off. You can't just do 1 shot.
For the hurricane debris?
Yeah, from the street to the...
Well, specifically, when we did the hurricane debris, the reason that we relocated everything to the marina is because the longer we left stuff sitting on the grass, the more sod replacement that was going to have to happen in the community, because it was going to take them quite a long time to get to all those different piles. So it was more cost-effective in the long run for having to do less replacements by just storing in the marina for the long run. Any other questions for the committee or for myself? Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Thanks, Jack.
Any questions from the board? Okay. second to approve the selection of Cintron Landscaping to be the contract moving forward for all 3 contracts in the association. This is just a selection of the bidder. There's still some things to be worked out behind the scenes with the contract, a couple odds and ends that need to get timed up, and the contract will be signed probably in a week. But I just want to make sure that the board is making a selection tonight of the contractor. So do I have a first from the board to move forward with Cintron? Do I have a second? Okay. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jerry. We're going to move forward now to the access control contract. Joe, I think I'll turn it over to you, Craig.
Which we just got like 10 minutes ago.
Give me 1 second, Joe.
First of all, thanks a lot for coming. This project has been going on for, Rich, over a year.
About that, yeah, that's right.
So with all the IRMA problems and everything that's coming along, this kind of put on the back burners because we had to change our CC&Rs and our rules to kind of comply with what we're doing here. Everybody's got to be in agreement that our security or access control company we have now is awful. It's a big joke. They call it the wave-in community that we have. So about a year ago, Rich's committee decided to help us get through this and move on to how we can improve and lock this place down. With everything growing around here, we're actually more vulnerable than we have been in the past, and that's not acceptable. So myself, Rich, Chip, Lee Daniels, we met with 3 different people in the last few months to try to come up with a better plan on who we're dealing with. We met with Allied, Universal, Cambridge, and G4S. Each one we met personally. They gave us a lot of details on what they were doing. We didn't get a lot of warm and fuzzies out of the top 2 because they weren't really ready to jump in and take action. We needed somebody that's going to be able to come here in a hurricane, so myself and Rich and Kevin Mooney don't have to go up there on Monday after the hurricane and block everybody from coming in. That's really not what we did, but that's what we did. So we have a company now that doesn't have to go out and hire people immediately to take over in our division. The other 2 companies had to, if they got the contract, we had to give them 2 months so they could start filtering in and hiring people to do that. Well, that wasn't going to work for us because we've been experiencing that for as many years as I've been here, that it just doesn't work. This company here is also known, it works in the courthouse. Most of the employees are retired veterans or retired law enforcement. That's a big win for me because that's what I am, retired law enforcement. So I'm obviously going to think we're going to get a better product by doing that. And we're also not signing a contract, so if it doesn't work in 30 days, they're out. But, so we sat down, luckily for us, we have Tom Schoback that took all the contracts out of this thing and did a good, better, and best. And out of his 40 years of technology with all this documents and stuff, he came out with G4S. Now that being said, it all has to do with money. Yes, G4S is a little bit more than the other 2, 8,000 on the one and 30 on the other. However, the one on the 30, we had to put more money into things to make it. We had to give them radios, we had to get repeaters. There was a lot more that we had to pay out of pocket that G4S does. G4S comes in with their own iPads. They walk around. We know where they are. They're going to be plugged all over the place, so we'll be able to GPS them throughout, so we'll know what's going on at all times, where the other companies weren't that way. Rich has the company we have now going around and hitting all the triggers on all the door locks, just so we can try to get a little bit of idea of what they're doing. And we get a report from them, but it doesn't really do much. This way here, we can know what's going on at all times, and so does the company. So we're a little bit better shape on this. Like I said, we just, Tom had them going through loops and whirls trying to get this contract straightened out. And we just recently, 10 minutes, Rich wrote it into and got it. So I think we should go ahead and go with what the committee said with the G4S. We're not gonna, I'm just gonna ask that the board lets me go forward with this so we can read this contract a little bit further and then let Adam take over and see what other bells and whistles we can get out of this thing. But in my heart, I really feel that we need to lock this place down. This is the company that's gonna give us what we need. And again, if it doesn't work, 30 days are out and we'll start reinventing the wheel again. And just pretty much all I've got on this.
Joe, was this proposal, was this an RFP that went out to these fellows?
It wasn't an RFP, because we didn't need to do an RFP, because we didn't meet the maximum that we need to do that. However, with my window washing business, I'm in a lot of communities, so I took the ones that I dealt with the most, going in and out of communities, and the ones that kind of were better than what we had, and we went that way, and we interviewed those. That being said, G4S, they've always taken a DNA sample before you get in any of their developments. The other ones, wave in. Kevin Mooney will tell you, we've been interviewing as we go through, but no, we didn't need an RFP. We just took the ones that were the bigger ones and we went from there.
How much can we save by doing what other communities do and put the guard shack on lockdown from 11 at night to 6 in the morning?
Well, that's funny you should say that, because we are looking into having a kiosk system. We don't think we're at the point right now. Securitas has a lot of software and hardware that we don't know what they have. We can't find the contracts on them, so we really don't. So what we're doing now is we're now going to take, the quarry will now own all the hardware and the software at all times. So that can be done, but we still have to make this transition into doing that. So this is a possibility we may be doing 6 months down the road, and the savings will be, it's not as much as you think it is, but it's going to be substantial. I really can't give you the exact number because we're still doing the kiosk report, but that is something that we're thinking of, because Rich gave us a report, and we have about 5 cars a week that come in from midnight to 7 in the morning. And the kiosk system that we're looking at is going to be one that if you go in, if the board approves it, obviously, if we go in, you'll go in there, you'll get a code. That code will ring to your cell phone. You'll answer the cell phone and you'll push a number on your phone that'll tell you, so you're letting them in. So it's not going to be a code that could go out to Domino's Pizza and all that. It's going to go to you. You're going to be the one letting them in if they're coming to see you or whoever. That's the system we're kind of looking for to do. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Anybody else have any other questions? Hey, go ahead, Tony. You're just a questionable guy.
What's the value you put on the rover and the hours? It seems like the rover works during the day, which seems kind of confounds me because isn't the action at night when somebody
Well, they can't enforce anything, so yeah, the action. They can call the police like we can. We're kind of,
is it worth 66 grand a year?
no, it's not. And we're going to do a survey out to see, I'm not in favor of it.